Hi everybody, welcome to another one of my videos. In this video I wanted to talk about my friendships within the Kingdom Hall, within the congregation when I was a Jehovah's Witness, and just how I found them to really be the friendships. You know, they say Jehovah's Witnesses are supposed to be, some of the best friends you'll ever have, the love, the real true friendship in God's one true organization, genuine love, genuine brotherly love among most of its members worldwide. And while this might be true to a little extent, they over exaggerate it. Is my sum of how I would say the friendships there really are. Like, I found it ultimately a mixed bag. We're all different personalities, and so you'll encounter a big type of people. I mean, as a witness, I guess I would say yes, some of them were very friendly, but most of the time too, most of the really friendly and like really talkative ones were like the elders, the pioneers, the ones you would more expect it from. What I found from most of the members other than that were mostly not overly friendly. I might as well just come out and say it. I really would put it that way. I found it to be, there were some that were more friendly and talkative. I guess it's the outgoing types of personalities. But then there were others that would keep to themselves a lot. I definitely saw a few, like a good share of them, they were always in the habit of, they would arrive, like even if they arrived early for the meeting, they would go straight to their seat, stay in their seat until the meeting started. They would just look at a book or look at their tablet or their phone, and when the meeting was over, they would have their keys in hand and like exit the hall like as soon as the prayer ended. And no, the ones I'm thinking of, no, it was not because they were trying to get reinstated at the time. Like, they were in good standing. That's just the way they were. Like wow, like, I'm gonna come to all the meetings, but don't try to talk to me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you know what? I really gotta say, I did not see a whole bunch of happy people in these congregations. What I would say from all my experiences, what I saw overall mostly were just people who were stressed out, depressed, just worn out from the routine, that hamster wheel that Watchtower keeps them on. It was, like a lot of the elders were too busy with all their duties and responsibilities to take the time to try to talk to members. I did find a lot a lot of the friendships were, they would tend to be more judgmental. A lot of them were very picky about who they would be friends with and who they would talk to. Like snobby, I would say. Like, there were some that would still, like, it still depended on, like, what your income level was, how well you dressed, like, aside from how well you were doing spiritually. It was just. And here's one thing that kind of stood out to me that I did take note of myself and through what others told me, like in the congregation. There were some that were, you would find the odd ones who were like, they were like, they put on a front at the meetings. They were super friendly at the meetings, would try to talk to people, like talk to people that they would not normally talk to. But then outside of the Kingdom Hall, if you ran into them or came across them, it was like, I don't want to, like, why are you trying to talk to me? I don't want to talk to you. Them. Like, oh, so you're not as friendly as I thought you were? Hey, you know what? I myself, I am a naturally shy, quiet, reserved person. I'm not usually the type to take the initiative to try to talk to a lot of people. I'm one that, what you would call slow to warm. I'll tend to keep my distance at first. And yes, the ones in the Kingdom Hall that I could sense were like generally just more friendly, approachable. Those were the ones that I would talk to, approach, and talk to. It was. I'm also very. I don't really like it a lot, but it's there. It's just part of who I am. I'm not mean. It could easily be mistaken that I'm mean, but that's not the case. I am naturally aloof and a bit awkward to be around. Like, I am not. I could tell some people just can't stand that awkward silence. Where to me, I'm used to it. Like, I'm almost kind of like, okay, why do I always have to be constantly talking? Like, what's wrong with us just sitting there quietly? Like, like, not that I'm not going to talk at all, but, well, but yeah, like, these kind of just natural personality traits have really isolated me as a kid. Big time, especially in my school years, and I've improved a lot over the years, but a little bit of that awkwardness is still there. Is definitely still there. And just in the Kingdom Halls, you're taught and told that you can only have friendships within the Kingdom Halls. I feel bad for all the JW kids that have to grow up in that religion. Like, you cannot be friends with anybody except who's in your own Kingdom Hall. Like, that really limits friendships. And it puts a really big dent into how you view the outside world and friendships in general. That's actually a very damaging thing to do to people as they're growing up. Sorry. You know, I always tended to gravitate more to people who were older than me because I've always found them more approachable. And I found from a young age, I still find it. I still tend to. There's been some exceptions, but I still tend to find that I don't really hugely click with my own age group. I think if I was to narrow it down, I'd probably say it has to do with that I am that just my aloofness and my awkwardness, and I'm also very mature for my age. I would attribute those things for probably why yeah, I just I just found overall people, like when they're older, more mature, they're just better people to be around. Not that everybody younger than me sucks. I'm not saying that either, but and at the Kingdom Hall, I found a lot of majority of my years. I found more so than in the world that you had to be careful about your dress, your grooming, your speech, your conduct, and your actions when you weren't at the hall. Because the members, they're taught to be tattletales and like spies. If they see anybody doing something or saying something that's wrong or inappropriate, they have to report them. So based off that, you can see that there's not a lot of respect and trust among members toward each other. And I never knew, but I definitely did suspect it. Just, I think, add to that the fact that I was a single sister. So, I wanted to talk about one of the friendships that I had in the king when I was a witness. Now, of course, I'm not going to say her name, but she was one of the first friends that I had after I was baptized. She was a few years. Okay, she is. Okay, she's a few years older than me. She's married. She was already more newer married when we became friends. And so over the time I was a witness, we were friends about 15 years total. So long time. And at the beginning of our friendship, at the start, she was a lot more bubbly, just a very talkative kind of girl. But then a few years in, she had to stop working and she became very depressed. Yet, and one of my frustrations with her was, despite me trying to encourage her, and like even me, like I'm on antidepressants myself, I take for my depression, and I was always trying to encourage her to go on them, but she never would. So, okay, there's only so much I can. So she ended up very long term depression. Now, throughout our entire friendship, her and her husband, they were always very irregular at the meetings. They were usually like never there midweek, unless it was a CO visit, of course. Yeah, the only time when everybody came. I like to say that because it was true. And she was, and they were, even for the Sunday meetings, a lot of Sundays they were not there. So they were always pretty irregular in meeting attendance. I know it had to do with the husband working a lot, was some of it. And I think honestly other times she was just too depressed to come to the meetings and, wouldn't even phone in. So, and they were the same as me, of never commenting. I don't recall her, and especially not her husband, ever, like, I don't recall ever them commenting, you know. Um, Later on in our friendship, leading up to the years that I left, she had admitted that there had been some turmoil in her marriage, a little bit of abuse from her husband. Nothing overly serious, but like shouldn't be happening. Her husband, I think, was just overworked and really overworked and overly stressed out, and he would just sometimes take it out on her, is what I thought was really going on. But she was, in the later years, I could see it a lot more on her face, just how down and under stress she was, more than she would ever admit to. We would get together sometimes. We would go out for breakfast, or there was a nice walking trail that we used to go do quite a bit. And she was somebody that I would invite out in service to work with as a partner. And she was the same as me, never had a lot of success in the ministry. Uh, she did manage to get a few more return visits than me because of her just more bubbly, talkative nature. But she never pioneered. She never had Bible studies, same as me. One thing I remember about her is that I was always nervous as a passenger in her car because she was a nervous driver. Uh, Not so nervous to the point of like causing an accident, but I would say kind of close, more of a risk to end up having an accident is how I would describe her as a driver. And there's two incidents that I remember with her. It was the first time that that was my first time, well, as a passenger, but that was it was a first for me that one time we were pulled over by police because we were apparently speeding, but she was only 10 over the speed limit, and they still decided to pull her over. The cop was very friendly. He just gave her a ticket and left, but it was definitely a very embarrassing experience for her. And I did feel for her. Like, yes, she was over, but it was only by 10. I know technically that would warrant a speeding ticket if a cop is around, but. And then there was another time where she had a return visit that would invite us in a lot, and she would take me if we were out in service together. And one time we were invited in, and the return visit offered us pizza she had made, and I politely turned it down. I wasn't trying to be mean or rude. I was very polite about it. I know I accepted the drink that she offered, but I politely turned that down, and my friend kicked me from under the table. Gentle kick, but still. And me, the type of person I am, when we got back to the car, just before we got in the car again, I did explain to her, like, just enough of a stern way, like, don't do that again. There was a reason I turned it down. I was not trying to be mean or rude. Like, I managed to talk it out, and she didn't make an argument of it. But I just, like, I was, yeah, it's kind of like one of those things with food, like, over here, like if you turn down food, sometimes here turning down food is a sign of being mean or disrespectful, you know? Like, I gotta stuff my face, or I'm more. That's another topic altogether. Anyways. So, and you know, looking back, this friend was a very good example of what's really going on for a lot of the witnesses. That they are not the happiest people on earth. Many of them are just very stressed, very depressed and down, and trying to put on that front and fakeness of being God's, like, the happiest people on earth when you're not, is, I think, definitely something that more people need to know about this kind of group. The way that you're, like, all the rules and scrutiny and oppression, I would almost describe it as an oppression that you live under as a witness, is not going to result in happiness. Now, see, Jehovah's Witnesses are some of the most happy people on earth? No. My counter would be, no, I disagree. Because you may not know, but Jehovah's Witnesses has one of the highest rates of depression among many of its members. Now, how many people would be aware of that? So, as for other friendships, there were a few older ones that I had pretty good friendships with. Oh yeah, definitely. There were a few were nice enough to invite me over to their home. I had definitely a few very beautiful friendships. But then that mixed bag too, I would say for the most part, a lot of them, like, I remember at a lot of conventions and assemblies, like, they all got their own cliques and selectively social when they're usually just, you know, single ones hunting for a potential mate, and a lot of the ones besides that will typically just hang around and talk to family rather than trying to seek out new friendships, unless, you know, it's a Bible study or a younger person or a newer person. But yeah, I tried to play my part a little bit by encouraging some of the older ones. There was an elderly sister that I used to always sit with at the meetings. She was very friendly. Lives in my neighborhood. I'm pretty sure she's still living there, where she is. she was, yeah, very good friend, and I still care about her, even though I can't talk to her anymore. But that was but like friendships within the hall, like I remember some years when I needed rides or to the conventions or the assemblies, some years I would have difficulty finding a ride because I always had to call around. They would not come up to you, like, are they the kind of people who would give you the shirt off their back and bring groceries to your door and give you money, like those kind of friends? No. No. No way. No, they're not. If I had to go to the elders and really push it to try to find myself a ride just to get to the conventions and I even tried to mention some of the brothers and sisters like that, like I know they would have room in their car, so there's no reason that they should be telling me no. Like unless they were going to another convention or assembly. So would I say there's real friendship among the Jehovah's Witnesses? No. My answer, no. No. I'd say overall, they don't show love to those who are down or discouraged. They withhold help from those who are really struggling financially and spiritually. And how do I know that, that I can really say this? Because I've seen it myself at firsthand. There's a lot of cliques in the congregations. There's a lot of ones who are still extremely picky and selective about who they'll talk to and be friends with. You're held to a higher standard in the friendships among each other as Jehovah's Witnesses because you have to be more of a perfect friend. And definitely, like I had a few incidents where I said something to a JW friend that I shouldn't have said. More just bad wording, not that I was trying to be mean, but these friends, they made a huge deal out of it. Like one called me later on and yelled at me for a few minutes over the phone. And looking back, I'm like, I really should not have even answered my phone, but and didn't apologize and just laid the guilt and shame on me very hard. There was another time when I had gotten a ride up with an elderly sister who had taken her Bible study, and this was a pioneer sister who had brought her Bible study to the meeting, and after the meeting, I wasn't aware that they were going to be taking this Bible study out to a restaurant for a meal. So, unaware of this, I had made plans to go to another sister's house to, like, for a little gathering, like right after. But then I couldn't find an alternate ride, so when I learned of this, the sister's plans to take her Bible study out for a meal, I couldn't find another ride home, and I didn't have any money on me to pay for myself at the restaurant, and it was before before I had a cell phone, so I couldn't call the other one to cancel or say I would be late, so I just had to sit through the meal at the restaurant. They paid for me, but I still had to sit through it, and I didn't act miserable, but I just stayed really calm and more with a straight face. But I guess the Pioneer Sister, had still gathered that, like, I didn't really want to be there. And even though I explained why, like, I made plans with somebody else, and now I'm not going to be able to show up because I didn't know we were coming here, but she still got mad at me and told me off. Like, see, something that was, like, not directly my fault, but you know, and to top it off, losing all those friendships, like, if one decides to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, that is just not right. That is the clearest indication of all that it is not the one true religion, and that is not real friendship. If real friends care about you, stick by you, that loyalty, nope, ain't there with the Witnesses. I simply left the Jehovah's Witnesses religion. I did not leave God. I did not turn my back on religion or God. Like, as the way I see it, they cut off the friendships, not me. Because they're following the orders to shun me and not talk to me. Like, if that's one of the things that I still get really down about sometimes, like, it was not like it was, if I had it my way, I would love to maintain some of those friendships, but I can't because of how the rules work. But that just shows that they were never real friends to begin with. So it is what it is, and I just gotta move on. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I hope you guys all have a good week, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.